Okay everyone, Solomon here again at Life After Work. After my last video, had a lot of great comments about this process because it only took a few minutes and it was finished. But I got an email from a friend of mine. I'm not going to give out names and stuff now because he hadn't really said I could. But he had heard on one of my very early videos about how I thought this copper work on the hull of the Constitution could be very good. So he did it and got great results. He sent me pictures of it. However, he did mention that he kind of wished that in time the color would dull a little. Maybe that was part of my problem with just the paint. It was just, it never really looked antique enough, never looked like the bottom of a ship. Okay, I've got this, and I hope you can see this. This is antique copper. It's a wax metallic finish. It's called Rub and Buff. And for those of you who've never used Rub and Buff, and believe me, it goes back many years, you can put this over plaster, you can put it over styrene, put it over anything you want. It literally is a metallic finish that you can apply and then polish with a clean cloth. And you can clean it up with mineral spirits. Now for my British friends, that's white spirits. But just the same, let's see if we can antique this that we've already done. Because with no more time than it took for me to do this to begin with, I mean, we're talking minutes. Then maybe just in a few more minutes, and I got to open this up, I've never opened it. In just a few more minutes, maybe we can come up with a dulled down antiqued finish. Now I'm using just basically some cloths that are old t-shirts. I mean, that's all it is. So let's see what we can do. And I haven't used this stuff myself for a very long time. So we're going to see exactly what we can produce with it. Now if I just rub it in, you could rub this directly on your styrene plastic. And if you do, and then buff it. It's called Rub and Buff. You just rub it in, then buff it off. You might well get a pretty good result, except that what I found is if you get a result, it will be based on kind of like rubbing boot polish onto a worn leather piece. So it just ages it and dulls it down. Now I'm going to put a little bit on here, keep putting it on, and I can do this for this dollhouse project because basically, if you really get right down and look at it, a copper ceiling on these old country farmhouses are pretty much aged and worn. Kind of what I think my buddy's wanting on the Constitution that he's done. And he did a Constitution that's an old, it's like the first one I ever did when I was a kid. Basically same model that came out in the mid-late 50s. But I'm rubbing hard. Now I am rubbing hard, but it's only taken me a few minutes. And I'm going to rub it down. Now what this does is it gets down into the grain. It gets into the parts that maybe you don't want to see such a shine. I don't know. So there's that part. Now I'm going to take this part, which is just the buff part. Now we'll buff it. I'll do some buffing. I don't know what this is going to do. The entire time so far has been putting on the original copper, doing this buffing is probably 6 or 7 minutes. Maybe. I don't know. Okay. So let's look at it like this. It's been rubbed, it's been buffed. On the video it may not look too much different. I don't know. I'll let you guys tell me. From the standpoint of putting this on the ceiling of the dollhouse, it's looking pretty good. So that's what I'm going to do. And that's kind of the addition of the rub and buff. For my friend out there that was wondering if he could antique his copper hull, well, this is one way to do it. I've also got other rub and buffs that I can use. It's interesting to see how this might actually turn out with a little more work. And I'll eventually put on some kind of a finish. Well, probably not, since this is in a dollhouse ceiling where a kid won't ever really touch. But it's dry. Trust me, this doesn't have to go off for any finishing. And you got to remember, it started out as a white piece of styrene, and now looks like a little bit of an antique piece of copper embossed ceiling. Anyway, continue to think about this. Now, for those of you who have told me you're thinking about ideas, you think you have ideas, again, I remind you that this is copper, but I've got these different gold and chrome and whatever kind of pieces, and you know what? Properly aged, you can take washes, put this on some kind of textured surface, put washes on it, whatever. I've been thinking, and I'm thinking about doing a demonstration, but the fact is you could probably put on one of these high gloss aluminum or steel finishes to, say, a bumper on an automobile. Rub it in real good, use some nice soft cloths, get it to where it's smooth and shiny. Get yourself a tool, a really fine tool that's smooth that you can rub it in and get it very shiny. Then take one of your monochrome pens, run it over that. Interesting concept. You might get something that you've never thought you could get. So anyway, there's a lot of things you can do, I think, with this. And like I said, you can antique it. You can do with this what you want to do with it. Make it as antique or as shiny as you want to make it. So anyway, that's kind of this demonstration. Now, let's take another look at something. Okay, what I've done, well, I've been working on this other project. Let me get a couple of things out of the way here. I've cut an oak base. This is just a raw oak base for the dust collector. I've also removed some of this funky stuff that I just don't agree with. Set a couple of pieces in place. I've got these companions to the masts in here and some other stuff. Torn out all of the cannon, and I'm now going to take some sanding paper. I'm going to sand all this off because this was glitz and glitter that really is not appropriate to this ship. I've bought plenty of material for the masts so that I can make 3-level masts. Main mast, top main, for instance, main mast, top main, and then one more level that I'm going to call a flagstaff. But I'm going to grind all this down smooth. I've got to put my anchors in place, and frankly I broke one. You know, most of you have been with me for a while, know that my hands aren't working correctly. So I had a spasm, and that spasm caused me to break this. That's okay. That's okay. We have glue. So we'll put that back together, get the other anchor working. And then I'm going to cut all the main mast, but I thought I'd get this base down because I'm going to cut down along here. I'm going to cut a 1/4-inch plate that will glue to the top of this, that this will sit on so that I can get more gluing surface to it. And then I'm going to sand all of this. It's going to get a whole new coat of varnish. Everything will be fine. I'm going to add on my sorry, I just had a brain bubble. But basically my chain rails will come down here and here somewhere and back in here. So I'm going to put those on and get everything on this deck the way I want it to be, and then we'll start the mast. Now I know that's not the order I originally said. This was primarily going to be an exercise in showing you how to rig an old sailing ship, but I'm sorry, I've got to get this. It's never going to be right, but it's going to be a good platform for doing the rest. So if I get all the woodwork done down here, get everything done the way I want it done, then, well, I think we'll be in good shape to go. So anyway, this is what I hope would be a quick update on where I am. And for you guys that were looking at the metallic finishes done instantly, I mean within 2 minutes, forget the painting, the prep and all that. Let's face it, this is pretty good, and you can do it with just about any kind of metal that you want to do it with. Gold leaf, metal leaf, copper leaf, aluminum leaf, steel leaf. You can find them all. And I think you can come up with some really, really realistic stuff. So anyway, that's enough for this one. I'm out of here, and this is Solomon saying, have a good day, and believe me, I keep looking forward to one of those. You have a good one. Bye.